Welcome back and congrats. You have made it to the end of Gold, Goats, and Justice, where we're finishing our series with a great story that Jesus tells. But before I give a short teaching on it, I want to make sure that you have already spent some time reading and discussing this passage with your group. If you haven't done that already, please do pause this video and get after the passage with your growth group members. There was a rich man who was clothed in purple and fine linen, and who feasted sumptuously every day. And at his gate was laid a poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores. He desired to be fed with what fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, even the dogs came and licked his sores. The poor man died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's side. And the rich man also died and was buried. And in Hades, being in torment, he lifted his eyes and saw Abraham far off and Lazarus at his side. And he called out, "Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus to dip the end of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in anguish in this flame." But Abraham said, "Child, remember that you in your lifetime received your good things, and Lazarus in like manner bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in anguish. And besides all this, between us and you, a great chasm has been fixed, in order that those who would pass from here to you may not be able, and none may cross from there to us." And he said, "Then I beg you, Father, to send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, so that he may warn them, lest they also come into this place of torment." But Abraham said, "They have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them." And he said, "No, Father Abraham, but if someone goes to them from the dead, they will repent." And he said to him, "If they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced if someone should be raised from the dead." That's Luke chapter 16, verses 19 to 31. And it's a crazy story with so much to look at. But today we are going to focus in on 2 elements. First, notice the contrast. You have the rich man who has everything he could ever want and more. Fine clothes, a great house, he eats sumptuously every day. People want to be him, and they want to be with him. And then you have the poor man, Lazarus, whose life is so pitiful. And it said that he is simply laid at the gate of the rich man, left to beg for table scraps. And his only companions are the dogs. And these aren't your lovable chocolate lab kind of dogs that you want to take home and cuddle with. These would be dogs that are looking at Lazarus like he might be their next meal. The contrast could not be more. The rich man has it all and lives his life YOLO style. You only live once. Lazarus has nothing, and he dies in utter anguish. But the same thing comes for both of them that comes for us: death. They both die, and Lazarus ends up in paradise by Abraham's side, and the rich man is in Hades suffering, and he calls out to Abraham and says, "Abraham, send Lazarus to give me just a drop of water from his finger." And here's where we see our first major point. Abraham says, "Child, remember that you in your lifetime received your good things, and Lazarus in like manner bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in anguish." Here's the point to see. People who live their lives apart from God, all the good they are ever going to experience will be experienced in this life. When they die, that's it. It's all over. But for people who live their lives with God, all the bad things that they experience in this life will only be experienced in this life. They leave all the bad here and then experience paradise with God later. That is either amazing news or terrible news, depending on where you stand with Jesus. But there's another point to think about as well. Abraham goes on to tell the rich man, "And besides all this, between us and you, a great chasm has been fixed, in order that those who would pass from here to you may not, and none may pass from there to us." Now imagine sitting there and listening to Jesus say that. What a powerful statement. Jesus is giving us all something to think about, and it's important to decide now if I want to live my life with God or not, because at some point, I will not be able to change my outcome. I want you to take just a short moment and ask yourself, where do I stand with Jesus? Have I decided to place my faith in Him or not? And if you've never done so and want to make today the day that you commit to Jesus and the life that He gives, I want to encourage you to let your group know that and have all of you pray together. Because Jesus makes it clear, there will come a point where you can't change your mind on how you feel about Jesus. This series has exposed you to a lot of stories, some that force us to grapple with whether or not we're actually living out our faith, some that make us think about our money, some that make us think about forgiveness, but all of them come down to this one thing. Jesus offers us something more than we could ever imagine. And when we start to see that, it changes everything. Thanks again for being a part of this series. We are praying that the time spent in your growth group helps create life change and further commitment to following Jesus. We hope to see you again soon.